Join me this week as I introduce Evan Raichek to the community and answer any of his questions before he turns the table and puts me in the lightning round. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, friends, to episode 177 of the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee, and this is the podcast that's determined to make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that will help you become the guitarist that you always wanted to be. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and check out the description for all of the links from the show. And this episode is brought to you by Play Guitar Academy. That's where you learn the right skills at the right time, in the right order, to put guitar frustration in your past. Every third week of each month is Community Week right here on the podcast. And this is one of my favorite times. It's so much fun for me to be able to share with you some of the great people in our group. Evan is an academy and coaching member. He's been a member, I looked it up, since December 29th, 2019. So he's been a big part of our live community. And for those of us who were doing the live streams last summer, he had joined me on there. But today, he's on the main podcast. So welcome to the podcast, Evan. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Great to be with everyone.
We're going to start off here. This was fun. This was Evan's idea. We're going to turn the tables and make me squirm a little bit today. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a little bit about Evan. And then he's got some questions, and we're going to go ahead and take care of those questions. And then we'll get to the lightning round after we do all that. Does that sound okay with you, Evan?
Sounds great.
Okay. Awesome. Well, can you share with us a little bit about your history with the guitar?
Sure. So first time I picked up a guitar was in grad school when a bunch of my friends and roommates played guitar. So I got a fairly inexpensive acoustic guitar, and we sat in the dorm room and strummed chords. Actually, one of my friends ended up becoming a songwriter. He quit his corporate job to become a songwriter. And then I probably touched it 6 times after that last year of school. And then, so actually I know exactly when. So 3 years ago, I live 2 miles from Villanova. So I bet on Villanova in my family basketball pool. And that was one of the years they won. So I had some funds I hadn't anticipated and said, what's the craziest thing I could do with it? And went out and bought an electric guitar. And that's how I got started.
That's a fantastic story. So after you bought that guitar, took it home, and you said you strummed a few chords back in college. What kept you with it this time? What was it about learning the guitar that just kind of captivated you?
So probably a few things. One, it was a lot easier. So I know I've read different places that electric guitar is easier than acoustic, and that is absolutely true. So right off the bat is wow. I feel like I got twice as good without doing anything.
That's right.
Because it was just easier to fret, easier to get around. And then second thing was just it makes more fun tones. So you could play more things. That's like, wow, I would never, anyone else wouldn't think it sounds like the person on the radio or the record. But to me, it was close enough. So, wow, that's cool. And then just the availability of internet instruction was, okay, you can find things very easily to get started.
It doesn't have that, even if it's, going and finding a teacher in a music store, there's still some hurdles to get across, getting there, meeting the people, finding, the internet makes dipping your toes in the water a lot easier. And also, not all electric guitars are that easy. Some people don't get the, there's all sorts. I've had a few that fought you pretty hard. None as much as an acoustic guitar, though. Okay, so we're 3 years back. You've got the guitar now. It's electric. How about amps and pedals and all of those things? How did you work your way into all of those?
So at first I started just playing like plug into a computer with computer amp, computer simulator, whatever you call
Right.
it. And then at one point I said, oh, let me try a real amp. And then for probably about a year, it was a Boss Katana. I was
Hmm.
doing just the effects on the amp,
Right.
but found that you can't, have the flexibility to switch on, switch off. I got one of those boxes that lets you switch different tones, but that's sort of you're switching a whole patch. So probably about, I don't know, 6 months ago, I started buying some pedals. And what I've sort of gravitated into is I have looper pedals, distortion or overdrive and fuzz pedals, sort of all those type pedals, and I still use the amp for the reverb and delay.
Hmm. I asked
So
that.
now,
That was kind of a loaded question because I know you use the Boss Katana, and we share videos every week. That's in the coaching. That's how we do coaching. So I get to hear that amplifier every week, and it's very nice. It's one of the it's a purchase I may make sometimes just to have a really decent sounding. Do you have the bigger one or the smaller one?
I have the smaller one.
Okay.
And I think probably the biggest feature that it doesn't have, because I don't need anything bigger than 50 watts. It gets plenty loud. Is
Yeah.
the bigger one has a effects loop rather, so you can
Thanks.
put it into the effects loop,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
so now, like the looper, before I had the pedals, the looper and your lead is the exact same tone. So now
Right.
I can record a loop and I could play with the pedals to get a different tone for the lead.
Right. When you have everything in the amp, everything on that side of the looper changes, and
Yeah.
so your rhythm changes. All the yeah. So that's good. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that amp a little bit, and what I was curious about is now that you've made the switch to having some before the amp pedals, how do you find that amp takes those pedals, and have you tried different sounds on the amp and hear what those same pedals do to different modeled sounds?
Um, I tried it and couldn't. They're similar. I
Hmm.
don't know that the quality of the pedal or the quality of the sound from the pedal is different, but it's just easier to control.
Okay, great. So now we've got the gear taken care of. We're in. Let's see. Let's bring us up to end of 2019. Okay, so we start doing the coaching and all those things, and we've had a really interesting year since since you started. But with all of that going on, a lot of progress too. Could you tell everybody a little bit about some of your progress you've had over the past year, and even what you're looking forward to achieving after that?
Um, so just in terms of from the academy, I'm up to, what is it, 207 now.
Hmm.
So I think when I started, I could do pentatonics, minor pentatonic, and that was it.
Hmm.
And even though I'd started on chords years ago, I was very, very clumsy and sloppy on chords. So just having gone through the class, all the major scales, minor pentatonic, just the improv, feeling more comfortable playing little melodies in the improv and not just noodling scales, and then just ability to pick up songs. So either harder songs or songs that I can pick up in a week would have taken 3 weeks, and starting to find that pieces of the songs are not just new from scratch. It's like when I learn a piece, I sort of know what it's about. So learn it a lot quicker.
And that's how this was another loaded question, because if you watch Evan's videos, he's tearing through songs note for note, and not easy songs now too. So he's really built a really good repertoire of songs. I think right now we're doing some Dire Straits right now.
Sultans of Swing.
Right, which is a fun song. It sounds great, but there's a little bit of work you have to do in there. We've done everything from like Santana on to Allman Brothers to very extended solos, note for note. But the one thing we've been stressing is understand what it is that you're learning. Don't be a player piano. Learn the lead. You can learn it note for note, but go back and what scale pattern is that coming from? What was the guitar player thinking? When someone said to him, "Hey, here you go. Here's a bunch of chords. We need a guitar solo over it." What was their process? And once you get that, things speed up quickly, which Evan is showing everyone with his videos. So very good stuff. Very good stuff. So okay, so now we're up to present day. And let's go ahead, and I know you have some questions for me. We'll go ahead to get to those questions and give me a chance to catch my breath before we turn it around back on. Go for it.
So first question is how to keep up on old stuff. So there are things that I took in classes, in the earlier classes, even if you're not classes, things you learned a while ago, right? You move on to the next thing, you move on to the next thing. Some of the stuff sort of is still part of what you're doing, but there are definite pieces that I'm realizing, I haven't done anything close to that in a while. So if I did, I'd probably forget it. So how do you expand your practice structure, not just to practice what you're learning, but practice what you have learned to keep it fresh?
Yeah. So anyone who's listened, who's worked their way through the podcast episodes, know that I always stress a 2-part practice session. The first part I just call practice, and that's working on the things that you don't know yet. Working on or you're not comfortable with yet. What you can't do. So I always say split practice into work on some that you can't do, and then the play section, which are the things that you can do. Most people don't do that. There's really I've seen two types of practicers. There's the people who are always trying to do something new, always working on something to figure it out people. I'm going to figure out how to do this. And then there's the other people who just want to jam all the time. Who know a few scales, and they just want to play, or they want to play the songs that they already know all of the time. Both of those are missing half of the game. There's rarely anyone who's working on both, but you would think, well, the part of that is the play, right? Why would I work on stuff that I already know? Well, as anyone who's tried to get into a band or try to get out there and polish their playing enough to perform, that just because you know something doesn't mean that you're great at it or it's ready. Just because you know how to play a scale doesn't mean that you're using it as effectively as you can. Just because you know how to play a song doesn't mean it's as tight as it might want to be. It's a very important part of that is taking the things that you already know and refining them and leaving them in memory all of the time. And no one does that. And in fact, sometimes people switch back and forth. For a long time, they'll work on things that they don't know, and then they'll switch to just jamming for a while. It's very rare where you get people working on both sides of it at the same time. And to be a moving forward musician, these two things have to be kept up all the time. So let's just take something, for example, like one of the things I know that we had talked about before is the blues scale. where you're adding in that extra note to your minor pentatonic scale. Say you learn that and it sounds cool when you learn it, but later on down the road, you don't use it very much, and it goes. Those things kind of leave your mind. You don't get enough repetition on that. Or say it's a mode or some sort of scale. You don't use it very often, but when you have that opportunity to use it, you sure would like to be able to do it well. There are some things. For me, it's like the augmented, whole tone, diminished, altered, these more fancier scales that in jazz you use a lot more. I like to use them in rock music, but they're best used at certain places. It's not a scale you want to use all of the time, or you can use all of the time. They're a little bit more tense, and so I have to pay special attention to these things and put more attention on learning those and keeping those up than I would some other things, but just for a little bit of a small use later on. It doesn't seem to work out. There are certain things that you have to kind of to keep up. And I find that classifying these things helps greatly. So let's say diminished scale is something that I play a lot over seventh chords, dominant seventh chords. I play that all the time over the diminished scale. I also play the minor pentatonic scale over dominant chords. I also play the Mixolydian mode over dominant chords. I also do some outside stuff over dominant chords. I group all of those scales as dominant chord scales. So I don't say, I'm going to practice my diminished scales today. I put on a dominant seventh chord and I jam to it, and I run through all of the scales that I would use over that chord. So that way, it's got a purpose. I've created a need to practice it. So I think grouping these ideas, something like the blues scale, well, that's something that you would play. That pattern. Even if it's called the blues scale when you do minor pentatonic, that same pattern in major pentatonic is something that's used in country music an awful lot. And so if I was going to play country, of the scales that I would play country, that would be one of those. So I would have a practice time where I would play a few chords in that style, and I would run through all of the scales that I would typically use in that style. And so that way, I'm continually working on something, and it's not this obscure one little thing that I did a long time ago. I'm marrying it to something that I actually am using. So that's me. That's how I think about it. Sometimes how I think about stuff works great for other people, and sometimes it doesn't. So but those are some ideas. But really making a conscious effort to work on in a practice session the things you don't know yet, and then having another time working on the things that you would like to do, that you do well, but you need to keep up or would like to do better with. I think that's an important thing to do. Did I do okay?
So it was interesting because what sort of I had absorbed from the original thing of things you're learning / things or things you're learning, and the play part of practice. A lot of people say. I'm almost hearing now there's really three things. So there's the things that you're learning at one end, the things that you're playing sort of for fun. Like, I just enjoy playing this song, so I'm going to play the fun play, and then a middle thing of like repractice. So what are the things that you want to repractice and have a conscious list of, that you either rotate or, change over time, but what are the things for the next month or whatever, however you want to rotate it, I guess, that I want to repractice and get a little better at, even though I did a while ago.
Yeah, we would do it even in a band setting where we would group things into set lists. So we'd have songs in a certain set list, and we would usually, you'd mix them around here and there, but those songs were kind of grouped together, and we had certain set lists that we would play at the beginning of the night, and certain set lists that are middle of the night, and then a set at the end of the night. And those songs had different purposes, because when you're playing for anyone, you're controlling time. You're taking people, if they're paying attention, hopefully they are, from one point in time to another point in time with a song, from 3 to 5 minutes, right?
Okay.
And then once the attention wears off, you switch the song up. New song. Hey, there's a new song, and you take them for another 5 minutes, and then another song. And when you group these songs together, take people through time, it's very powerful. But what we would do is we would swap. If you play the same place several times, we play different sets there, so the people didn't think they were hearing the same music every time they would come. And then some of those sets, you get away from after a while. And so we would do the same thing. Is we would keep track of sets, and then we'd bring a set back we hadn't played in a while, just to keep it up. And in fact, just the fact of being a performer does some of this, what I'm asking you to do in your practice anyway. You're playing those songs over and over and over again. And once you get to the point where you don't have to think about them anymore, and that's when you can start to change things a little bit, work on refining those songs. If there's a chord that you're not hitting quite right, well, you're going to play the same thing tomorrow, So next time I do it, I'm going to really focus on getting that chord down. It's almost like you're practicing, even though when you're performing, to keep those things going. But when we're stuck at home and we're not out there playing those sets, incorporating that into your practice is an important thing.
So when you had set lists, did you have, just make me curious, did you have sort of set lists, and then in a night you would have pull from different standard set lists? So did you had songs that sort of had their places, a beginning of set list song, end of set list song,
the
middle? How did you, just curious, listen.
Yeah, we would have so two different things. If I was playing in like a cover band, a bar band, when we would start playing at like 9:30, and then we would get done at 1, there's a lot of that's probably 4 sets of music. You could get away with 3 if you stretch songs really long. But the songs that you would play in the beginning of the night they kind of, as you start playing, those songs kind of gravitate towards where they are the most effective. Mm-hmm. There's certain songs I remember when I was playing up near you, we would do a lot of the nightclubs, and it was very odd at the time because the Philly area nightclubs in the 90s, you would play harder music, heavier music in the beginning, hard rock, or classic rock and hard rock, in the beginning of the night, when people haven't been drinking very much and they're sitting there and they're listening. And then, after about halfway through, when the drinks start to work a little bit, all of a sudden people started wanting to hear like Motown music and dance music. And those which is completely, the two styles of music had nothing to do with each other, but we got in the habit of doing that because it worked, So our late night music would be, dance songs that get people up and moving, and our beginning of the night songs were listenable, songs that you could sit there and drink a beer and listen to, and we would try to smoothly pull people out onto the dance floor. So by the end of the night, it was a lot of fun, So there's a strategy in that as well too. So yeah, that's kind of how we did it. And we would swap songs in and out of sets as well. But we would generally have a set. If you notice one song wasn't working, you might play it 2-3 times, 2-3 days, and that same song wasn't working. You might get rid of that and put another song in its place. Those kind of things.
So actually, so one of the other questions I often have is, how do you maintain your repertoire and do it in some organized fashion? But maybe that idea of just creating your little practice sets.
Yeah, I think set lists
Yeah.
set lists are a wonderful tool.
That's good.
Yeah, you when you go to see a band now, it's fancier. You know, people have their tablets and all of those things, but it's usually a piece of printer paper taped to the floor with the names of all the songs. For me, for a while, it was a piece of printer paper with the names of the songs and then the first words of the songs, because I could never remember what the first. When I was singing, I could, as long as I had the first couple words,
You're good.
then I could do the whole rest of the song. So, and a lot of times I didn't need it because I knew it was there, so that I wasn't stressing about it, and I would just remember them. But I knew if I freaked out, I know the first couple words are there. That would get me started. But the old piece of printer paper, but that works. You could get a binder, and you could put 10, 11 songs. That's what we would do, sets of 10 or 11 songs, and just put the titles of those on a paper and call them a set list. And the next time you learn 10, 11 songs, put those in the next piece of paper. And the next time you do 10, 11 songs, the next piece of paper. And then throughout the week, you might, hey, I'm just going to run down. You might not even play the whole song, just the parts that you're working on, but run through those songs. And have that as a way to keep that repertoire going.
That's great. Got a bunch of things I can go and do.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, what do we got? We got anything else? Any other?
So last question: what's the best substitute for playing with others when you can't play with others? Hopefully that'll go away soon, but still.
Right. So I say this a lot. But I still keep trying to find something that's more effective than this, that's more modern. But I haven't found anything that's quite as good as this. And that is playing along with live video, a video of a band performing live to an audience, and you playing along with that. Here's why. So what if you think about what's the big thing? What makes it so special when you're playing music with other people? What is it that makes it so great? And
Not predictable.
It's not predictable, right? It's listening and reacting. And it's the exponential listening and reacting as you go through the song. And this is what I mean about that. So I'm playing along to a song, and someone else joins in, they're playing along. And I hear what they're playing, and I get an idea. Oh, they play like that, huh? Well, then that changes the way I play. So right off the bat, something interesting is happening. Okay? Now that other person who's playing hears me change what I've just played because of what they did, and they get an idea. And that causes them to play something a little differently. And then I hear that, and I react to that. So we're about 3 times through at this point of changes, and that song is not the way that I would sit down and just play it if I was just strumming along to the to the records. So that's what's magical about it. Now, put in a whole band. So let's just say a 5-person band. So you have 5 people playing, listening to each other, and reacting to each other all at the same time. And it exponentially goes as each person makes changes based on what they're hearing other people playing. It's very complex. Now, put an audience in front of that band. So now you're making changes to what you're playing. You're making small changes. You're listening to what everyone else is playing. You're creating something. It's art. Okay, there's a creation happening. It's something new. You may be playing a song, but it's not the way you would normally play it because of that situation. There's something. Mm-hmm. This is where the magical thing happens, right? And now an audience likes something you did. What happens? All 5 people in that band are now paying attention to what are they clapping about? Oh, they must have liked what we just did. Your natural tendency is do some more of that. right?
Mhm.
So that's guiding the way that you're going. This, to me, is what's exciting about playing music with other people and performing too. It's the changes. It's all of the different things together, and the excitement and the adrenaline that happens when something works really nice, and also the sheer devastation when something doesn't work nice, and trying to figure out your way out of that. So I'll put this. I don't want to. All of the apps that are out there and all of the playing, you see the apps where you have to play it perfectly on time. The games, the guitar games that you see out there, play perfectly on time. It's different. It changes what you're trying to do. You're trying to do something perfectly the way something else was done. It's not the same as playing along with other players. It's not. So what I would do is try and simulate that as much as possible. Now, you can't have that back and forth unless you're sitting in a room playing with someone else. Now, over the internet, we have lag, which you could try to do that, but it's very frustrating. And I don't know, some people are trying to figure that out. I've seen it work a few times, but I haven't personally used that where it was a real-time thing. But if you take a video of someone who's live on stage performing a song to an audience, they're not listening to you, but you sure are listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you might learn the song on, say you go to like Ultimate Guitar or something like that, and you learn the tab, right? But when you sit down to play it along with that band, you can see what they're playing. That's one thing that happens when you perform as a group. You can see what the other people are playing. You can see when they're smiling. You can see when they're serious about stuff like that. And you can hear when the audience interacts. And that's all going to affect your playing as well. So to me, if I was trying to get ready to play live with the group or to get ready, I would play along with videos of people who were doing that, who are playing in a room with not the album, not the stuff that was layered at time. When everyone's in a room playing, and you can hear the tempo speed up, and at certain times, and all of those things that happen during a live performance. To me, I don't think there's anything closer than that, and I hope there is. Please let me know, anyone who's listening to the podcast, if there's something that's even better. But to me, I haven't found anything that gets you as close as you can to a live situation than doing that. Than playing along to me, I started with DVDs. I would buy DVDs of live performances and play along with it. And what's neat is you can see what they're playing. So sometimes when you listen to the album and you that's a D chord, right? But mine doesn't sound quite right. Well, you can see, they're playing their D chord way up high here. Oh, I get it. You learn a lot of things visually too about that. So
yeah, that's neat. Plus, when for the album, if it's a song you like, exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
If you know the song, you could hum it, right?
Right.
You can, on YouTube these days, you can find a dozen copies of a song, performances of a song, most of which you never heard before. So if you're playing along with one, you really don't know what's coming next.
Right. Right. That's right. So that's I say it over and over again. I keep looking for something that I feel is better than that. And I haven't found it yet. So that, to me, that's as close as you could get.
Gonna try that too. That's good.
Okay. All right. 2 for 2, right? Oh no, that was 3. That was 3.
3 for 3, I think.
Okay, I'm wringing my hands now. I think are we ready for the lightning round?
Lightning round. We'll see how this goes. So mostly, you're all with your experience as a guitar teacher, mostly. So start. Favorite song to teach?
My favorite song to teach. I like. Well, my favorite song to teach of all is "If You Love Me Like You Say which is an Albert Collins song. It's a blues song. Usually only a student who learns blues learns that song. If it was like classic rock or what you would think of regular things, Sultans of Swing is up there. That's okay. I was really happy that you were doing that. And that's why
I got one of your favorites.
Right. And that's why I said, when you've got this down, please try and learn it finger style so we can get that extra thing there. So I really like that. I like, I've had students ask to learn Cliffs of Dover before, which is a very challenging song I used to play for a while. It's an Eric Johnson song. I liked doing that. That was interesting to me. There's a lot of interesting ones, but those are the ones that I have fun doing. Okay. And because I also played this, what would happen is for my in-person lessons and my group lessons, when I was playing locally there, I would always get students up to play along with the band. If they were there, I'm going to ask them, and 9 times out of 10 they'd check it out. But that one time, if it was a song that we were working on, especially one of those songs, and they wanted to get up and try it, that was like, to me, the best, And I remember there's a student of mine who's grown up now, who was not grown up at the time, named Joseph. And he used to come, I taught him for a while, and then his parents would bring him whenever we would play someplace that they could bring, kids, like a restaurant, those kind of things. And he would always get up and play, and it was so much fun. So.
Okay, this one's coming next. Least favorite to teach. Where you go, oh no, not that.
Least favorite to teach. I got over that a lot. That was Sweet Home Alabama was one. Okay. That was, but I got used to it over time. A lot of times there'll be like a fad song that everyone wants to learn that I don't even remember them now, but
they come and go.
They come and go, But Sweet Home Alabama was one, and not that I don't like the song. I've played the song, and it was just, there was a while there where I was teaching it every day, and I was like, can't we do
one like that?
Can't we do like Curtis Lowe or Give Me 3 Steps? Can't we pick another one of them? And so I'd say that one, not because I don't dislike the song, but because of burnout, because it was there was so much of that.
Okay, what's your favorite age to teach?
My favorite age to teach, I have 2. I like. Let's talk about younger players. So, at 5 years old, people ask me, how old would you have your kid start to play guitar? And 5 years old is about where I'd say you can start. If they can, usually 7 is where they would start. But if they were 5 and they could sit still for a half hour, that was always fun too. I liked middle school, I right before high school, because that's when things really you could really push them and get some results. The problem with that is it doesn't last long. As soon as they get to high school, and specifically as soon as they get their learner's permit for driving, guitar lessons go. I could say, when are you going to get your learner's permit? Oh, okay.
We're done.
We're done. And within the next week or two, the parents have the conversation about, well, who's going to pay for this car insurance? And at that point, guitar lessons are gone, right? But I like so like middle school, right before high school is always a good age, and I like 35 to 40 parents who have gotten past the difficult stage of very young kids, and they're starting to do something for themselves, and it's kind of a whole new thing. There's a lot of excitement there, and I like that too. So those 2 ages are my favorite.
Neat. So keep this to like people that are listening here, whatever your first 5 years of guitar, what was the most satisfying song that you learned? Where you said, man, that was great.
First 5 years of guitar, it was Dust in the Wind. I really thought I was something. I could do the Travis picking, right? And it was in the time when classic rock, it wasn't called classic rock. It was just the rock station. But they would play like whole album sides, and I grew up outside of Philly, but so we got all the Philly stations, and they would play all of those, and like I'd hear Kansas, and it just, most of that stuff just blew me away, but to be able to do that. And also that style too was Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You by Led Zeppelin. I think those two, my first 5 years, those are the ones I was most proud of.
What's your favorite, and I don't know if you, in terms of pedal or the type of tone, your favorite overdrive, distortion, fuzz tone, like what's your favorite in that scale?
Right now, it's the BB preamp by Exotic. I can plug that into any amp and make it work. So, to me now, to get I have a certain tone that I need to be able to play a night of music, and
that's sort of what I was asking. How would you describe your favorite tone?
Well,
what tone is it?
Well, I'll tell you what my tone is. It start with the speakers. So the speakers that I like to use are not a bright Fendery speaker. They're more of a Celestion, Marshall. And in fact, the warehouse speakers, the ET65s, is that what they're called? I think it's ET65. Those are the ones I put in everything. I love the way those speakers sound. And when you change a speaker, most people, you get an amp, you figure, well, that's what the amp sounds like. That's what the amp sounds like through whatever speaker it came with. Speakers are huge. They change everything about your sound. You might hate an amp and put a different speaker in there, and all of a sudden it becomes wonderful, right? So kind of a lead guitar speaker, not a super bright ice pick speaker, but a speaker like a Celeste, like a greenback type speaker. This one's a more powerful style than that. Into sometimes it's Fender amps, sometimes it's Marshall amps, depending on what the gig is. But I like pedals in front of amps. I like to, even if I'm going to use the distortion on an amp, say a Marshall distortion, I won't turn the distortion all the way up. I'll turn the distortion just where it's got a crunch, just where it's just working. And because I like the way a pedal sounds. It could be a clean boost pedal. It could be a distortion pedal, like a tube screamer, an overdrive pedal, pushing that distortion to a new place. And you get a lot of complex sounds. You get more of the pinch harmonics, and there's a lot more that you can do with, and it's got more of a compressed feeling for lead guitar. Compression and lead guitar for me go hand in hand. I really love to be able to not fight the guitar when I'm playing, but compression and rhythm guitar for me, I like that to get away. I like to really fight it for rhythm. So that having a pedal out front where I can add that in and take it away is important. So yeah, if I'll show my board one day, but I have a lot of different drive pedals and clean boost pedals that I use together with each other. They call stacking. Mm-hmm. And so I can get a lot of different sounds for different situations through the same amp. And I think I'll do that one day. I'll go through my pedal board and all the different uses that I have. A lot of the people I listen to, like Eric Johnson, he has 3 or 4 different sounds, and he has them coming through different amps. And so he has pedals that only go to one amp, and then some pedals that only go to another amp. So he has kind of crafted sounds. I don't have that luxury of bringing all those different amps. So I have to do some tap dancing on my pedal to bring pedals in and out to get different sounds. But
okay. Have time for one more?
Okay. Yeah.
And so if you could only teach songs from one band, so you can teach as many songs as you want and keep all your customers and clients, but you got to keep it to one band.
Oh,
Which band would you pick?
oh goodness. From one band. So it'd have to be a band that, who does a lot of different styles. Aerosmith, I like classic rock band. I like teaching classic rock stuff. So Aerosmith or Led Zeppelin. I'll go with Led Zeppelin. I think Led Zeppelin would be it.
Yeah,
I love, because you think about it, you can go from like the Rain song, which is just acoustic and it's an open tuning and it's beautiful, to just, the heaviest stuff. So I'd say Evan's in the chat. He said pick a cover band. I'm going to say Led Zeppelin. I think Led Zeppelin, if I had to pick one, that would be fun for me.
Okay.
All right.
Hope you had fun.
Did I do okay?
You did great.
Oh, good.
Actually, it's really up to everyone on the chat, right? If they say, yeah, that was fun, then you did great.
And in fact, that's where we're headed right now. We're going to go check the chat. There's been a lot of chat here. We haven't had a chance to go. Here, Dean's here. Hi, Dean. Thanks for hanging out with us. Nolan. Hey, Nolan. How you doing today? Jim's here. Hi, Jim. How are you doing? And Sam. Oh, my goodness. Sam, how are you doing? That's great. And Evan's here as well. We talked about Evan. The other Evan. We have two Evans here. So we have Evan W and Evan R. So Nolan says, I recently got the Katana Mach 2 100. It's great. Yeah, I've never played through one, but I have several students who have them, and I'm always impressed at how they sound in a room. Just in a bedroom or something like that. They always sound really, really good. How do you, Nolan, if you're still here, how do you like your Katana? I would love to hear about that. Evan says, I keep debating a Katana, a 40 or 50. And you want to know, is it light? How heavy is the amplifier?
20 pounds, I think. I don't think there's a 40, unless the 40 is like just the head or something.
Okay.
I think the main ones there's a 50 and 100.
Right.
Some other special one.
Right. But not heavy at all? Easy to carry around?
I don't carry it around. So
okay.
It stays put. The only thing I'd say is so if you're buying it, don't buy a used version 1 because the patches aren't downward compatible.
Okay. The version, the newer versions, they've done some stuff.
Yeah, so a lot of the patches that you can get off the internet are made on the newer version. And as I discovered, you can't use them on the old one.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Michael says, can we see Evan's vids? Want to see him in action? Well, if you're a coaching student, I haven't opened coaching up in a while. Because we got together all of the coaching students and talked about, hey, how can we make this even better? It was a really cool conversation. And so I've been kind of not, but I may open up some spots, but anyone who's in coaching can see anyone else's videos. We have them all there, and which I think is kind of fun to do. Not to keep up on people, but just to sometimes, just to see if someone else is learning the same thing you are, coming at it from a different place. But yeah, you'll be hearing about coaching in the near future. It's something I'm working on. I've had some spots open up too. So, but this time of year, it's hard to get people practicing right now. So this is a tough time of year. Evan said, got to revisit it, but can you get it into your play section of practice? Okay, we were talking about playing and practicing there. He also said, don't forget to like the video, folks. Please do. Please like the video. Let's see here. And then we were talking about playing live, and Evan says playing live is a whole different perspective in the best possible way, or the worst possible. I've had both of those, which has been I told this, I'm sure I told this before, but I was living in Georgia, and a friend of mine's band was playing in Delaware, and I was on my way up, and he's like, we're playing tonight. Can you please come out and jam tonight? I'm like, I'm driving 13 hours, man, but yeah, I'll do it. So I got up there. I was exhausted, got up to play. I plugged my guitar into somebody else's amp, it was a closed back cabinet, so I couldn't, they're very directional. So all the sound was going out towards the house, and I couldn't really hear what I was playing. And we did some like AC/DC song or something that I knew. So I was pretty much playing it from memory without really being able to hear myself. And come to find out that they tuned a half step down, and I didn't. So, gosh, we told everybody how good you were. What happened, man? What's wrong with you? Anyway, he says, Evan says, you need to do it a few times, start noticing the benefits, but they're present at start. Yeah, it's great. And he says, I can hardly believe I'm actually doing it. You're doing it, man. You're doing good too. Kevin's here. Hey, Kevin, how you doing, man? And let's see here. Dino's here. Great to see you, Dino. Wonderful to have you here. Michael says, now I'm going to have to check out the Albert Collins. Yeah, and actually, so Albert Collins had a horn line too, which is always a fun challenge, just to play his parts, but also playing that they played off of each other. So he'd play guitar, and then the horn lines would play. So it's easy to put those in there too. It's really, really cool. Albert Collins is really cool stuff. He played in an open tuning, and you don't have to do that. It's not so. The tuning he played in wasn't so different sounding than the voicing of a regular tune. I was playing regular, but if you can listen to, oh gosh, I think Tab Benoit's done something. There's a lot of people who have covered Albert Collins songs too. Let's see here. Nolan says, I went with the 100 mostly for the effects loop. Right. But the tone library you can find online is great. Dialing in your own is fun too, though. Yeah, I think, let's see. Evan, Rich has a katana. Several other people do too. And it's neat hearing the different sounds as I see little snapshots from week to week as you guys get more familiar with the amp. I love hearing how it's evolving over time. So it's pretty neat. Okay. All right. So I think we're down at the end. Evan was saying that, I'd want the effects loop, I think. Yeah. I got used to not using an effects loop because I use so many old Fender amps, I got used to putting the reverbs ahead of time and keeping it clean, but definitely the reverbs and the delays sound much better when it's through an effects loop if you're using pedals there. So thank you, Evan. This was a lot of fun. I knew it would be a lot of fun, but I'm glad you were available. We were able to do this, and so thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And
appreciate it. I enjoyed it myself.
Yeah, and when you have a great little group like we have, and can share that with people, it's always a good thing. I'm really the thing I'm the most proud of all of this is the nice community that we're building. So and you're a big part of it. So it was great to have you on here, and I hope I did okay. I was a little nervous. I don't get nervous too often. That's good. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Thank you, Evan. So that's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar Podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you can get all my content as soon as it comes out. If you're ready to fill in all the cracks and use my roadmap to get your playing moving forward again, head on over to playguitaracademy.com. It's there waiting for you. And thanks again. I will see you all on the next episode. That's the end of the audio podcast. And thanks everybody who's been in the chat today. Let's see here. Jim says, that was great, guys. Thank you, Jim. Thanks for hanging out with us today. And Michael says, thank you very much for your time, Evan.
You're welcome. Maybe I'll stick a video on the community section one of these days. Yeah. Or even in the Facebook group, that's another place too, if you like, but a lot of good stuff from Evan. And let's see here. Evan W says, I got a lot of amp thinking to do in about a year or so. And Nolan says, see you guys. It was great hanging out, man. Okay, everybody, have a great rest of your week. If you're in the Academy, Dean says, thanks. If you're in the Academy, we're going to have a masterclass on Friday.
and it's going to be about smooth transitions between chords, rhythms, and smooth transitions between chords. That's going to be around 2:00 Friday afternoon. So anyone who's in the academy coaching or just the main academy is welcome to attend. And I will see you then, and hope everyone has a great rest of their week. And thanks a lot. Bye-bye, everybody.